So language is critical because it actually conveys the reasoning, the purpose for drafting the peace agreement. I think it's the most critical part of the peace process. It's important because it has to be language that brings everybody together. It has to be language that's inclusive, that allows anyone and everyone who was involved in a conflict situation or affected by a conflict situation to feel that there's light at the end of the tunnel, that the future is bright because they have been included, because the language in this agreement talks about them directly. It has to be deliberate. The language has to be deliberate. And some things that need to be in agreements cannot be optional. So the language is critical, right? It's language that has to be explicit. It cannot attract any guesswork. It has to be language that does not attract second guessing. It has to be language that cannot be weaponized and politicized, and ensure that it was implementable. Yeah. So that's why language becomes really a critical part of any agreement making, any lawmaking, and any formulation of policy that comes after a conflict and that is intended to provide a future roadmap for the country.
The drafting of a peace agreement is oftentimes seen as the purview of the lawyers, either for the parties or lawyers for the mediation. And the parties will negotiate, they'll talk at one level of negotiation. And then the lawyers will go off in a corner and write it all up. And that's really a second level of negotiation. And that's really quite exclusive. You almost have the lawyers doing a second layer of negotiation, which is not appropriate at all. And so the idea behind the handbook, it's 400 pages. Greta, Senja, Emma, Kaylin, the PILPG team did a phenomenal job of writing this handbook. So it empowers these groups to put their draft on top first, and then that becomes the cornerstone of the negotiation. The sad reality is, depending on who you ask, at this very moment, there are between 60 and 110 active armed conflicts around the globe. We need the parties that are engaged to be as empowered and as skilled as possible, and that's the purpose of this handbook.
An implementation for other components of the agreement that allows the parties to address things that happen in the future that they didn't necessarily foresee when they were drafting. So this is all about minimizing the scar tissue, right, that you're leaving behind by drafting an agreement, by solving the immediate problems, but not burdening the next generation with the fault lines and political landscapes that define the negotiation itself.